There is a code that most men live by without ever knowing its name. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, you gain strength. Through strength, you gain power. Through power, you gain victory. Through victory, your chains are broken. This is the Sith Code, and you have been following it your entire life. Not because you chose the dark side, because someone handed it to you before you were old enough to question it. Your father, your coach, the culture you grew up in. They all said the same thing in different words. Don't be weak. Don't feel. Push through. Win at all costs. That's the Sith Code. And today we're going to look at what it actually costs. Here's why the Sith Code is seductive. It works. In the short term. When you stop feeling, you stop hurting. When you stop attaching, you stop losing. When you turn pain into fuel, you become harder to stop. Darth Maul is the perfect example. Cut in half, left for dead on a trash planet. He survived on nothing but hatred for 12 years. No food, no shelter, no sanity, just rage, and the will to survive long enough to get revenge. That is the Sith Code working exactly as designed. Pain became purpose, loss became fuel, suffering became strength. And for a certain kind of man, especially a man who has been through real loss, this philosophy doesn't just make sense. It feels like the only honest philosophy left. At least the Sith don't lie to you about how hard life is. Now, I want you to think about where you've seen this code in your own life. Not in a galaxy far, far away. Right here. The coach who told you to walk it off. The father who never said, "I love you," but worked himself into an early grave to prove it. The culture that rewards men who grind 80 hours a week and calls them strong while their marriages dissolve and their kids stop calling. Hustle culture is the Sith Code with a gym membership and a podcast. No days off. Sleep is for the weak. If you're not growing, you're dying. Sound familiar? These aren't random phrases. They are the Sith Code repackaged for modern men. Through passion, you gain strength. Through strength, you gain power. And we swallowed it whole because it felt like the alternative was weakness. Because no one ever showed us a third option. The Sith said, turn your pain into power. Society said, hide your pain and perform. Both are the same trap. Different packaging. And here's what nobody told you. The men who seem the most powerful under this code are often the most trapped by it. They can't slow down because slowing down means feeling. They can't stop winning because stopping means confronting what winning cost them. They're Maul on the trash planet, alive, functional, and completely hollow. But here's what the Sith Code never tells you. When you turn pain into fuel, you need to keep burning. Maul survived, but he didn't live. He spent 30 years as a ghost, not dead, not free, just preserved by rage. Every memory calcified into a weapon. Every relationship, a transaction, every moment, measured by whether it moved him closer to revenge. He finally got his revenge. He killed Qui-Gon Jinn's former apprentice on a desert planet, just like he planned. And then what? He had nothing left. No code, no purpose, no peace. Because the Sith Code gives you a reason to fight. It doesn't give you a reason to stop. This is the trap most men don't see until it's too late. They win the promotion. They get the body. They crush the competition. And they stand at the top of the mountain expecting to feel something other than empty. The Sith Code gets you to the summit. It has no instructions for what happens when you arrive. Darth Vader is the other example. He became the most powerful man in the galaxy, served the Emperor for 20 years, enforced order across thousands of worlds, and died having never had a single conversation that wasn't filtered through fear or command. He was powerful. And he was profoundly alone. That's not freedom. That's a different kind of chains. The Tao Te Ching, the ancient text that George Lucas drew from when building the Force, says something that sounds impossible to men raised on the Sith Code. Yield and overcome. Bend and be straight. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. This sounds weak to a Sith. This sounds like losing. But watch what happens when you stop fighting everything. Obi-Wan Kenobi lost everything: his master, his apprentice, his order, his purpose. He disappeared into a desert for 20 years, and in doing nothing, he became immovable. When Vader finally faced him again, Obi-Wan didn't fight back. He let go, and in letting go, he became something Vader could never touch. The Sith Code says, when you lose, get stronger. The Tao says, when you lose, get quieter. One path leads to Maul, surviving on a trash planet for 12 years, hollow and preserved in rage. The other leads to Obi-Wan, at peace in the desert, more powerful in stillness than he ever was in the fight. This is the part where most philosophy channels stop. They give you the Sith path: passion, power, domination. Or they give you the Jedi path: detachment, service, self-erasure. But there's a third option, and it's the one that almost no one talks about. It's the path of the warrior philosopher. Not the man who suppresses everything and calls it discipline. Not the man who feels everything and calls it enlightenment. The man who has been through the fire and came out knowing the difference between strength and armor. Because armor is not strength. Armor is what you build when you don't trust yourself to survive without it. Maul wore armor. Vader wore armor. Most men walking around right now are wearing armor, and they've forgotten what their own face looks like underneath. The warrior philosopher doesn't remove the armor all at once. He just starts asking, does this piece of armor still serve me? Or am I just afraid to take it off? That's the Wu Wei principle in action: not doing nothing, doing only what's necessary, carrying only what's real. The Tao doesn't ask you to be soft. It asks you to stop wasting energy on battles that don't matter. A river doesn't fight the mountain. It finds the path of least resistance and eventually carves a canyon. That's not weakness. That's the most patient, powerful force in nature, and it's available to you right now. Not when you've won enough, not when you've suffered enough, right now. So here's what I want you to honestly consider. Where in your life are you running the Sith Code right now? Where are you turning pain into aggression instead of wisdom? Where are you confusing numbness with strength? Where are you winning at something that stopped mattering to you years ago, but you can't stop because stopping feels like losing? Most men can't answer that question easily, because the Sith Code doesn't just shape how you act. It shapes what you're allowed to feel. If you've been told your whole life that vulnerability is weakness, you don't just hide vulnerability from others. You start hiding it from yourself. And then one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the man looking back. Maul had that moment. At the end, he realized he had become exactly what Palpatine designed him to be. Not a warrior, a weapon. The question is not whether you've been shaped by forces outside your control. You have been. Every man has been. The question is, are you going to stay that way? The Sith Code will get you somewhere. It will make you hard enough to survive. It will make you strong enough to win, but it will not make you free. Freedom, real freedom, doesn't come from conquering everything outside you. It comes from the moment you stop fighting what's inside you. The Tao calls it Wu Wei, effortless action, not passivity, not surrender, the kind of stillness that only comes when you're no longer at war with yourself. Maul found it 2 seconds before he died. He will avenge us. Not rage, not strategy, just truth and peace, finally. You don't have to wait that long. The abundant monk isn't about abandoning strength. It's about learning which battles are worth fighting and which ones you've already lost by starting. Think about that. This is the way.